Welcome to today's audiobook podcast. In this episode, we'll take you through the fascinating life of one of the world's greatest entertainers, Charlie Chaplin. From his difficult childhood to his rise as the king of silent films, we'll explore the story of a man whose name became synonymous with laughter. This biography is based on his own words in my autobiography. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Early Years, Born into Poverty. Charlie Chaplin was born on 16th April 1889 in London, England, to a life of hardship. His parents, both performers in the entertainment world, had little money and even less stability. His father, Charles Chaplin Sr., was often absent, and his mother, Hannah, struggled with mental health issues, leaving young Charlie to fend for himself much of the time. Chaplin's early childhood was marked by poverty and hardship. He lived in a small, overcrowded house with his brother Sidney. Charlie didn't have much of a childhood. By the age of 7, he was sent to a workhouse after his mother was unable to care for him. It was here, in the workhouse, that Charlie learned about the struggles of life, and it shaped his view of the world. Chapter 2. The Stage and Beginnings of a Performer. Despite his difficult beginnings, Charlie found a passion for performing. At the age of 9, he started acting in the local theatre and quickly discovered his talent for comedy. It was during this time that he developed his love for slapstick, a form of physical comedy that would later define his career. Charlie was soon recruited to join a traveling theatre troupe. He was only a child, but he was already learning how to entertain crowds, honing his skills for what would come next in his life. By the time he was 14, Charlie had become part of a vaudeville group, a traveling variety show where he performed in front of thousands. His ability to make people laugh through gestures, expressions, and physical comedy was undeniable. His raw talent was starting to shine, even though his life remained filled with struggles. Chapter 3. Making a Name in the US. In 1910, Charlie's career took a major turn. He traveled to the United States to join a vaudeville tour, and it was here that he caught the attention of Hollywood producers. His big break came in 1913 when he signed a contract with the Keystone Film Company. It was here that he created one of his most iconic characters, the Tramp. The Tramp was a lovable, down-on-his-luck figure who always seemed to get into trouble but somehow managed to find a way out. Charlie Chaplin's genius lay in his ability to portray this character with a mixture of humor, sadness, and charm. The Tramp made people laugh, but he also made them feel compassion. Chapter 4. The Rise to Fame. As Chaplin's films gained popularity, his character, the Tramp, became an international sensation. He wasn't just a comic actor, he was a filmmaker. By 1918, he was not only writing and starring in his films, but he was also directing and producing them. He had complete creative control over his projects. Charlie's rise to fame was meteoric. His films were some of the most successful of the silent film era. Movies like The Kid, 1921, and City Lights, 1931, showcased his unique ability to mix humor with deeper emotional moments, making his work stand out from other comedians of his time. Chapter 5. Pioneering the Silent Film Era. The silent film era was a time of rapid change, and Charlie Chaplin was one of its biggest stars. But even as the world began to embrace talkies, or films with sound, Charlie remained dedicated to silent films. His skill for creating humor without words was unmatched. One of his most famous films, City Lights, released in 1931, was a masterpiece of silent comedy that touched the hearts of audiences around the world. Despite the growing popularity of sound films, Charlie's work remained incredibly successful. In City Lights, he told the story of the tramp falling in love with a blind flower girl, using only gestures and expressions to convey emotion. The film was a huge hit and is still considered one of the greatest films of all time. Chapter 6. Personal Struggles and Controversies. Behind the laughter and fame, Charlie Chaplin's personal life was filled with struggles. He had several marriages, and his relationships were often complicated. His private life became a source of public scrutiny, especially as his fame grew. In the late 1930s, as tensions rose in Europe and World War II loomed, Chaplin became more politically active. He used his films to comment on the issues of the time, such as in The Great Dictator, 1940, where he made fun of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime. This film was a bold political statement, and many saw it as Chaplin's way of using humor to fight against the evils of fascism. However, Chaplin's outspoken political views and his relationships with controversial figures led to problems in the US. During the McCarthy era, Chaplin's leftist political leanings caused him to be labeled a communist sympathizer. In 1952, he was accused of being un-American and was banned from re-entering the US, forcing him to live in exile in Switzerland. Chapter 7: Later Years and Legacy. Charlie Chaplin's later years were spent in Europe. Though he was no longer a major figure in Hollywood, his legacy as a filmmaker and performer remained strong. In 1972, Chaplin was awarded an honorary Academy Award for his contributions to the film industry, a moment that brought him back to the spotlight. He returned to Hollywood for the first time in decades to accept the honor, receiving a standing ovation that lasted for several minutes. Charlie Chaplin passed away on 25th December 1977 at the age of 88. His death marked the end of an era for silent films, but his influence on the film industry continues to this day. His ability to make people laugh, while also making them think about the human condition, has left an indelible mark on the world of entertainment. Conclusion: The legacy of Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin's life was one of incredible triumphs and personal struggles. From his humble beginnings in poverty to becoming one of the most beloved figures in film history, his journey was full of ups and downs. Through his work, Chaplin not only entertained millions but also influenced generations of filmmakers and comedians. Charlie Chaplin's legacy goes beyond his films. He showed us that comedy can have heart, that laughter can be a powerful tool for social change, and that even in the toughest of times, humor can help us find a way forward. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of Charlie Chaplin. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of his impact on the world and the person behind the iconic moustache and bowler hat.